Well, hi, my name is Sylvia Raskin. I'm with the Prosperity Agenda, and welcome to Coaching Up Close, our mini webinar series designed to work some quick tips into your busy schedule to help you improve your coaching skills. But first, let me introduce the Prosperity Agenda. For those of you who don't know, TPA is a nonprofit working to end persistent poverty by focusing on changing the way we think and build programs for and coach families under financial stress. Coaching is, of course, a big part of our DNA, and we work with organizations all over the country on their coaching programs. Before we jump in, if you're joining us live, we'll have a question and answer session at the end of this webinar, so save your questions. Let's get started. Today's session is communicating the value of coaching to different audiences. And so I think many people have had the challenge of how do you communicate what all the many things that you know about coaching and really make it resonate with all the different people in your organization, whether that be your managers, leadership, even your participants or frontline staff. So we'll talk about a couple different ways that you can communicate. So the first thing that I suggest is thinking about who that different audience is. And each different audience is going to have different wants and worries. So it's really helpful to think about those wants and worries before you kind of launch into what you're most passionate about or what you're most excited about coaching. This will help you really align your message to what is important to other people. So a quick way to do this is a wants and worries table. So just doing a line with a line down the center. We'll share kind of a graphic of this at the end. And list 3 wants for your stakeholder and 3 worries. So let's pick someone for our example today. Let's think that our audience is frontline employees. So what are some wants they might have when it comes to a coaching approach, and what are some worries they might have when it comes to a coaching approach? So I brainstormed a couple with my colleagues earlier. So some wants, and feel free to add to this list when we talk at the end. One is provide better services. Have the services be more transformational and less transactional. And the third, have clear expectations for both the staff member and the participant, so they can be in a better partnership. So those are our 3 wants. How about worries? A worry might be, this is just another change. This is just another process that we're going to go through, and it might not work. Second is, I don't have the time to use this new approach. It sounds like it's going to take longer. We just need to execute. And the third is, I don't have the resources. Perhaps I don't have the training or skills, or this is not what I'm going to be evaluated based on. All right, really important wants and worries. So of all the many things that you might want to communicate to frontline staff, focusing on these will allow you to communicate directly to what's important to them. So the way we'll do this is a tool called a value proposition. And it really helps us frame the value. What is the value or the benefit that someone's going to get? And we're going to use the wants and worries built into this value proposition. It's kind of like a mini story that you can say in 30 seconds that communicates very clearly and succinctly what your message is. And we'll do something sort of like a Mad Libs today, and we'll share this template with you later. It really is just fill it in. Organizations and businesses use this all the time to really distill down. And it's a simple tool, but it takes a lot of time and agreement to make sure your words are really communicating what is important to you and what's important to your stakeholders. So let's start with our value proposition. So we're going to use the example of the frontline employees still. And so we're going to say a coaching approach is for. So who is it for? This is the people receiving the services. So ordinarily we might say something like it's for participants in a job training program. But what does that really tell us about the person? Not that much, just that they've kind of showed up. So what is their experience like? So we might transform that into something like people searching for a job to meet their benefits requirements. That tells us a little bit more context about what these folks are going through. So then the next piece is a coaching approach is for people searching for a job to meet their benefits requirements. And coaching is. So this is what you do in simple terms. So we looked up the International Coaching Federation's definition of coaching. And while it is meaningful to us and folks who know about coaching, we might say, yes, that's it. This really resonates. I'll read this for you. Think about, is this going to make sense to someone who doesn't know anything about coaching? Or has this worry that this is just another thing? Does it really tell me what I'm going to be expected to do? So the ICF definition is, coaching is partnering with clients in a thought-provoking and creative process that inspires them to maximize their personal and professional potential. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with this, and it may be deeply meaningful to us because we already have this context for coaching. But how do we break that down into something much simpler that anyone, that's in plain language, that you can get rid of the jargon, you can get rid of the buzzwords, and communicate more easily? I suggest using a thesaurus. I go to thesaurus.com all the time and put each word in there and really make sure your words are holding a lot of that context, and it's easy for anyone to understand. It's, you remove kind of colloquial sayings from your message. So something like even being in the driver's seat, I hear that a lot. Is that something that would resonate across different cultures? Maybe not. So we might transform this into coaching is structured and meaningful conversations. And feel free to change this up for yourself. This is just our example, but structured and meaningful conversations if we really get down to that core. That, the next piece is that provides or that creates, and this is a compelling reason to engage. Why are we having these structured and meaningful conversations? Well, we're doing that so that we can have an environment and relationship dynamic for participants to make their own decisions. So clear, concise, tells us, delivers on that want. Remember, the frontline staff wants to have clear expectations to be in partnership with their participants. And make sure we move beyond this idea. They also wanted to move beyond transactional. So this is an environment. It says that there's a lot going on, a lot of different factors contributing to this environment, and a lot of different factors contributing to the relationship dynamic. Now, if someone asks you more about this, you can of course go into more detail, but this is kind of a very high level overview for someone who just maybe wants to hear it in passing and doesn't want to get in the weeds yet. So I'll say what we have so far again. A coaching approach is for people searching for a job to meet their benefits requirements. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped something. Who need, this is important. So they're not just looking for a job to meet their benefits requirements. They're also looking ultimately for job security and career advancement in the long term. So coaching is structured and meaningful conversations that provide an environment and relationship for participants to make their own decisions. So here's where we get into what we call a differentiator. We say unlike, what's the alternative? And you might say a different approach or a different program is your alternative. You could also just say a different way of working is your alternative. So your alternative in this approach kind of example is mandating a set agenda and executing on a plan. So unlike mandating on a set agenda or executing on a plan, coaching offers, and this is where you talk about what's the real value of coaching and how does it avoid the worries that your audience was concerned about. So coaching offers skills and success beyond and after, skills and tools for success beyond and after the program, or a way for people to successfully exit the program in the short and long term. And an opportunity to build on what frontline staff are great at, which is building relationships and listening to participants. So from the top, here's our whole value proposition, and this should take 30 seconds. A coaching approach is for people searching for a job to meet their benefits requirements, who need job security and career advancement. Coaching is meaningful and structured conversations that provide an environment and relationship dynamic for participants to make their own decisions, unlike mandating a set agenda or executing on a plan. Coaching offers skills and tools for success beyond and after the program. so that participants can successfully exit the program in the short and long term, and coaches can focus on what they're great at. Frontline staff can focus on what they're great at, which is building relationships. Compelling? I hope so. You can try this out with your own words. I mean, we just had probably a 45-minute conversation to come up with that 30-second explanation. And I think that's the real, it's really an activity that you can do with your colleagues and maybe in a staff meeting, because you really need to take the time to get something that's a 30-second statement. But that's something you can use over and over again. What's coaching? What is this coaching thing you can do? Here's my 30-second response. That doesn't sound forced and holds a lot of meaning and context for people. And most importantly, connects with what is really important to them.